I go in the bathroom and my baby was laid out, and I tried to pick him up, but he just dropped.
Nia Moore rushed to her nephew's side after getting a call for help Sunday morning. She found the 12-year-old boy, Andre Smith II, unconscious in a home near 46th and Hampton. He'd been beaten in the head with a large hammer.
We was trying to save him. We couldn't save him.
Family members say Andre's 8-year-old brother in the blue shirt here witnessed the attack and was also hurt. Moore and her boyfriend carried Andre to their car and rushed him to the hospital.
He died on me when I was in the car, and then he died again at Children's Hospital.
Hakima Martina is Andre's older stepbrother. He says at some point Sunday, the adult family member suspected in the hammer attack called other family to say what had happened. He'd accused Andre of stealing cash.
We went over there, and it was just bad. You know, he had blood all on his shorts. We step inside the house. We see my brother just unresponsive. It was just filthy, and I just lost it.
Hakima says he can't believe his little brother is gone.
He was 12 years old. He didn't deserve that.
Family members say Andre was supposed to be back at Douglas Middle School Monday with all the other kids.
There's no way you can treat a child like that. There's no way.
That was Terry Sater reporting. You're looking at a live picture from 71st and Hope. That's where Andre lived. His family is gathering for a vigil there tonight. Police say they know who they're looking for in this case, but they aren't naming him, and so neither are we until...
The report says the boy's skull was severely fractured, consistent with multiple blunt force blows to the head.
Keep him away from my kids. Then 23 days later, he beat my child to death.
Nikita Martina is the mother of 12-year-old Andre Smith, beaten to death with a sledgehammer Sunday morning in Milwaukee. According to a criminal complaint, the boy's grandfather, Andres Martina, seen here, beat the boy for an hour to an hour and a half inside a home at 46th and Hampton after accusing the boy of stealing money.
Andre just called me Friday at 12 on the dot. Mom, happy birthday. I love you so much. I can't wait to come home Christmas. And the next day he get beat to death.
According to the complaint, Andre's 8-year-old brother witnessed the attack and told police he saw his grandfather hit Andre in the head with a mallet, a sledgehammer, and a coat rack, as well as a cane. The complaint goes on to say he told police he, quote, lost it. 12 News has learned Andres Martina pled guilty to second-degree reckless homicide in 1989 and had just moved back to Milwaukee in May, asking to see his grandchildren. Andre's grandmother, Alicia McCroy, currently has custody of the boys.
He was convicted of second-degree homicide in 1989. Was that a warning sign?
That was like an accidental shooting. I had no idea about that. All I know is that I wouldn't think he would harm his grandkids like that.
Andre's mother says she's been fighting to regain custody of her children and says she had voiced concerns about their safety to state social workers. Had you complained to Child Protective Services about this?
I've been calling CPS since last year.
The grandfather is the only person charged in Andre's death. Police say they also found illegal drugs and a handgun inside the house. Terry Sater, WIS.
I warned you. I begged you to stay away from my kids. I will never, ever forgive you.
The mother of 12-year-old murder victim Andre Smith broke up as she spoke off camera to the boy's grandfather during his initial court appearance Thursday. Andres Martina is accused of beating his grandson Andre to death with a hammer Sunday in Milwaukee.
This is probably one of the worst cases I've ever seen.
Milwaukee County Assistant District Attorney Mallory Davis told the court part of what happened to Andre.
Was beaten for several hours with a number of instruments, and his brother was also struck several times. Not only that, but his brother witnessed his older brothers go through a much more severe beating and eventually succumb to his injuries.
The prosecutor said there were 2 eyewitnesses to the hammer killing, and Martina also admitted to what happened.
The defendant in this case did confess and also indicated during his confession that he knew what he was going to do while he did it.
Andre didn't deserve what you did to him. Didn't either. And I hope you and your mama suffer, and I hope wherever you go, they do to you what you did to my baby. I hate you.
Long before Martina was accused of beating his grandson to death with a hammer at this home on North 46th Street near Hampton, he pleaded guilty to second-degree homicide for another killing. Prosecutors say if he's convicted of all charges, he could be sentenced to 2 life sentences plus 35 years. In Milwaukee, Terry Sater, WISN.
Turn now to that breaking news, a terror attack in a New Zealand supermarket. The suspect was already on the terror watch list. This comes as fears are growing here at home as we approach the 20th anniversary of 9/11. James Longman has the latest for us this morning. Good morning, James.
Good morning, Michael. Yeah, this was a terror attack in the middle of the afternoon at a supermarket in a quiet neighborhood of Auckland in New Zealand. A man grabbed a knife from a shelf and just started stabbing people randomly. He stabbed 6 people before he himself was shot dead. Sadly, 3 of those people are now in the hospital in a critical condition. But what is extraordinary here is that he was already on a terror watch list. He had extremist views, an ISIS sympathizer, and for that reason, he was under constant police supervision. So actually, police were at the supermarket at the time. They just thought he was going shopping. Now it's understood that he was a Sri Lankan national. He'd been in New Zealand for 10 years, been put on the terror watch list 5 years ago. And so there are big questions now in New Zealand around just how you can monitor these kinds of people to keep the public at large safe. Cecilia?
Okay, James, thank you so much. Rage leading to murder in New Jersey. A couple senselessly and viciously stabbed to death in Hackensack, allegedly by a man who was hoping to rent a room in their home. Well, that suspect is now under arrest and charged with their murder. Here's New Jersey reporter Anthony Johnson.
The 2 victims were known to be kind to people who were really in dire straits, but it may have been their kindness that led them to their killer. His nickname was Chief. Family called him Ray, and his girlfriend was Treese. They shared an apartment together here at 95 Fairmont Avenue. It turned into a horrifying scene of unthinkable depravity. Both victims slaughtered just moments apart by a man who was trying to rent a room and went into a rage, viciously stabbing both victims to death.
I'm depressed over it. It's just sad.
Neighbors are still trying to come to grips with the bloody nature of such a heartless crime.
I was up in that room up there, and I heard it sounded like somebody screaming. I shut the TV off, and then it stopped, and then all of a sudden I see the cops and the ambulance coming over.
The suspect, identified as Clarence Stokes of Patterson, came to the home in Stanley Gunther's black Mustang around 6 p.m. That car still sits outside the crime scene. Gunther was known as a generous person, an ordained minister who served in the Navy and loved helping people. Stokes allegedly pulled out a knife in the upstairs apartment and plunged it into Gunther's body, leaving a blood-drenched scene on the 2nd floor. Then once downstairs, he went after Latrice Avery and showed no mercy as he continued his bloody knife attack on the front porch, leaving her in a puddle of blood. The whole gruesome scene was captured on Ring video. When police arrived, the suspect had dropped the knife, but was still standing just down the street from the crime scene, drenched in his blood-covered clothes.
He was down the street. He was waiting as if he was waiting for it to be picked up.
Stokes has now been charged in the double murder and weapons possession. He is also known to be a convicted felon.
We have new video tonight of a gunpoint robbery inside a Bronx barbershop. It happened Thursday on 183rd Street in the Belmont section. Police say the suspect walked in and pulled out a gun while the barber was giving a haircut. The barber was forced to hand over several items, including gold chains, a Rolex watch, 2 cell phones, and cash. Police say the gunman got away with items worth more than $28,000. No one was hurt. This just in, a woman is dead and another in the hospital after they were struck by a hit-and-run driver. It happened around 9 p.m. on East Fordham Road and Morris Avenue. That's in the Fordham Manor section of the Bronx. A witness who saw the accident but didn't want to show her face describes what happened.
They speed a lot, but never like that. Never that person either had to be intoxicated or something.
Police say the vehicle was a dark-colored sedan. Both victims were taken to a nearby hospital. And police are looking for a group of men responsible for a robbery in Greenwich Village last month. These suspects reportedly chased down a 24-year-old man. Police say they punched and kicked him and then stole his wallet containing cash and credit cards. The victim was not seriously hurt. Still unclear if the attackers knew the victim.
Police say a 26-year-old woman was shot and killed in Kensington around 3:15 this afternoon. It happened on A Street, not far from St. Christopher's Hospital. Police say they recovered a weapon and did make an arrest. They are not releasing the name of that suspected shooter at this time.
Pregnant woman found in Lake Michigan has been identified as 19-year-old Yariana Wheeler. Her body was spotted by a fisherman on August 15th. Investigators believe she had been in the water for more than a week, or about a week. An autopsy showed that Wheeler had been stabbed multiple times. The young mother was about 6 months pregnant at the time of her death.
Philadelphia police are investigating a deadly shooting in East Frankfort. Eyewitness News along the 4200 block of Salem Street. There, they say a man was shot in the head around 6:30 this evening and died at the scene. There are no arrests in this case either.
A heartbreaking crime. A young mother and her 2-year-old child murdered.
The brutal crime involved a family that recently left Atlanta and moved to Arizona. Fox 5's Kevin Stewart is live from Hartsfield-Jackson Airport tonight, where the family is getting on a plane to bring their loved ones' bodies home. Kevin?
Yeah, that's right. And, you know, the family, the two victims, were pretty much in Arizona all by themselves, and now members of their family have arrived here at the airport to catch a flight to Yuma, Arizona, where they hope to get some answers. Sudden loss.
I just want to know why. Oh.
Tamisha Sadler cannot believe what happened to her oldest daughter, 25-year-old Tamisha Wilder, and her 2-year-old grandchild, Roy Jr., according to Yuma, Arizona police, beaten to death by Trayvon Wilhite.
I said, what? I said, I don't get it. I just talked to Tamisha yesterday.
She recalls how she found out on Facebook.
On Facebook from an unknown person. I didn't know them personally. And they just said that her boyfriend killed her and the baby.
This is the scene Tuesday. In fact, we're told police thought they were being called to a suicide.
So our officers went to the scene, located him. A few moments later, they wound up locating the deceased subjects. He was taken into custody, and the investigation continued from there.
Wilder and her son moved to Yuma back in November, and family doesn't know much about this man. Police are still digging into his past.
He was a former Marine. I'm not sure what his service record was.
Now, as the family goes through pictures reflecting of better times, Sadler knows she must do what no parent plans to do: bury her child and grandchild.
She was beautiful. If you just had a chance to meet her.
All right, we're back out live. I want to let you take a look at this GoFundMe page. It's been set up for the family. It's you can go to GoFundMe, Tamisha and Roy Jr. fundraiser. You can find it there. They've already got $1,875. The family's trying to raise money because they're trying to bring the bodies home and bury them. So if you'd like to help, just check Gallon.
Police say this man pulled a gun on a 28-year-old woman after they got into an argument about a parking spot. The woman was trying to park on Decatur Avenue near 197th Street around 5 Tuesday afternoon when police say this man tried to park in the same spot. Police say he then threatened the woman with the gun, then drove off in a white BMW sedan with tinted windows and New York state plates. If you recognize him or have any information, call NYPD's Crime Stoppers hotline at 1-800-577-TIPS. Katie Johnston for CBSN, New York.
And now to that other breaking story. A teen just charged in the murder of a beloved convenience store worker in Hegewisch. Police now say 2 teens killed 70-year-old Yvonne Rusage because they wanted her car. CBS 2's Tara Molina is live at police headquarters. Tara.
Erica, police have charged a 17-year-old with first-degree murder as they continue to look for the second person involved in this, believed to also be underage, as they connect this to a series of carjackings.
We'll pause the video of the shooting before it happens, but it's still tough to watch. That's 70-year-old Yvonne Rusich, parked on South Baltimore Avenue, getting ready to go into work. She was talking to her stepson, who drove to work with her every day for safety through the window of his car. Another car pulls up. Two people get out, and they immediately start shooting. Her stepson able to drive off. Police say Yvonne was shot while trying to drive away. Crashing down the street, they followed her and shot into her car several more times. Police tracked the car they were in to a carjacking, then a spree of others in Illinois and Indiana, leading them to a 17-year-old juvenile who has been arrested and charged with first-degree murder, but CPD isn't identifying him since he's underage.
I mean, it's senseless. I mean, you guys saw the video, so there's no reason to shoot someone besides the fact that she wouldn't give up her car in that quick of a manner. And unfortunately, we have some extremely violent people who are doing this, so we just, cautious the community to please be, do your best to be safe and be aware of your surroundings and react accordingly.
In the Bronx, two officers fired their weapons after confronting an alleged gunman in the Mount Hope section. CBS News' Christina Fan joins us live from the scene. Good morning, Christina.
Good morning, Cindy. Those two off-duty cops had just finished their shift around the corner at the 46th precinct this morning when they witnessed an argument. They tried to prevent it from escalating further, but that is when they were shot at by two men who were father and son. Police say a 24-year-old man with a gun started firing into a group of people around 4:15 this morning on Valentine Avenue and East 180th Street. Two off-duty cops who had just left work around the corner saw the shooting. They confronted the suspect, and that is when the 24-year-old fired at those officers. The officers returned fire, killing him. The suspect's father, a 45-year-old man who was also there, then picked up his son's gun and started shooting at officers too.
Immediately after shooting, the officers began to render aid to the 24-year-old male, and responding officers took the uninjured 45-year-old male into custody at the scene. EMS transported the 24-year-old male to St. Barnabas Hospital, where he was pronounced deceased.
And police say the two officers were also taken to the hospital for observation, but fortunately, they were not hit and no other bystanders appeared to be injured.
Police are investigating a deadly shooting. A man found shot to death in his garage. KPRC2's Devin Clark is following the story and has the latest details for us this morning. Devin, what can you tell us?
Sophia, good morning. Yeah, a lot of questions swirling at this hour as Houston police and forensic crime scene units have this area blocked off. You can see them using flashlights to meticulously comb through this area. They are focusing a lot of their attention on two white or light-colored vehicles here on Hillcroft at Densmore. This area has been active for several hours now, since about 2:30 this morning. A woman reportedly heard gunfire, then found her husband or boyfriend shot. Investigators say the man in his 30s suffered 4 to 6 gunshot wounds to the stomach. The woman reportedly tried to perform CPR but was unsuccessful. No suspects located in the area, but officials believe that someone did walk up to the victim, shot him, and then took off.
The only information that we have right now is that from the families that he was in the garage area and they heard about 4 or 5 shots. When they came out, he was already shot. They didn't see any other suspects.
We should mention that we do see a crowd gathering here in this area. Investigators say that they are going to be talking to witnesses, hoping to get more information. But of course, as we always mention, if anyone out there does have more information, you're asked to come forward. You can anonymously call Crime Stoppers at 713-222-TIPS. We're live on the Southwest Side. Devin Clark, KPRC2 News.
All right, Devin, thank you.
Dispute between two Mount Vernon city workers leads to deadly violence. A DPW worker was fatally stabbed, and a water department worker is now charged with manslaughter and claiming self-defense. Tonight, we have the exclusive video of the fatal confrontation. CBS 2's Tony Aiello reports.
A
memorial marks the spot on East 3rd Street where 35-year-old Jenny Brown was fatally stabbed, and surveillance video shows the moments leading up to the Friday afternoon violence. 43-year-old Carlton Naughton, a city water department worker, sees Brown approaching with a knife and pulls out one of his own. Brown swings at Naughton, cutting his face. Naughton swings back and then follows Brown to the sidewalk. Mount Vernon police say Naughton stabbed Brown in the chest several times. The men continued to struggle before giving up, and Naughton walked back to his city truck. Brown, a DPW worker, got on a scooter, went around the corner, and collapsed. He later died at this local hospital. Monday in court, Naughton's legal team asserted he was acting in self-defense. Naughton's defense attorney says Brown, the victim, was, quote, stalking a member of Naughton's family, which had filed many complaints about Brown with Mount Vernon police. While video shows the victim took the first swing, the prosecutor says Brown was, quote, in retreat and had dropped his knife when he was fatally stabbed, justifying a manslaughter charge. I showed the video to attorney Troy Smith, a former prosecutor.
Retreating would mean that he's moving far away. This is just a continuation of the incident that was going on. The prosecution has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he wasn't acting in self-defense. That's a very heavy burden for the prosecution to overcome.
Monday, a judge set bail for Naughton at $25,000. A GoFundMe campaign is raising money for Brown's funeral and his young son. In Mount Vernon, Tony Aiello, CBS 2 News.
Pierce County Sheriff's deputies say a 62-year-old man shot a contractor over the cost of tile work. The shooting happened at a house just after 2 p.m. yesterday. We don't have the name of the contractor who was killed, but we know he is a 52-year-old man.
Your mom's got to go.